Hello and welcome to Creator Toolbox on today, Tuesday, September 7th. We have a fun show in store for you today, but before we get into it, let's do some introductions. Earl, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Earl Duque. I am a developer advocate at ServiceNow. I was part of higher ed customers for about 4 years before making the move to ServiceNow about a month ago. So new still. How long do I get to keep saying that I'm new?
However long you want.
In 4 years, I'll still say I'm new.
And my name is Brad Tilton. I'm a senior developer advocate at ServiceNow. I have been developing on the platform for about 13 years now, 3 as a customer, 5 as a consultant, and 5 as an employee. So I've hit all the high spots. So this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are, we are going to be looking at UI Builder. It said surprise topic, and when it says surprise topic, that's because the advocates don't know what they're going to be talking about when this thing gets scheduled. So I pivoted to UI Builder for today's show. So we're going to get into UI Builder a little bit. We're going to look at the community a little bit and then take a specific question on the community that I sort of answered and try to come up with a solution. I have not actually completely solutioned it, so this may be a little bit more live code happy hour-ish than our normal Creator Toolbox shows. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. Any suggestions or comments from the chat will be helpful. I'm not going to pretend I know the exact answer to this, but we're going to get into it and do a little bit of form validation on the show today. So early, anything else before we hop into screen share here?
While you're transitioning, if you all have ideas for products or applications that haven't been shown on Creator Toolbox yet, feel free to comment and let us know so that we can plan it for a future episode.
Oh, there we go. Yes, we do have some good stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks around mobile and App Engine Studio. There are some fun things in the Rome store release, which is going to be soon on those 2 subjects. All right, so we are looking at UI Builder here. But before we get into that, let me show this. So on the community, there are different community forums, and then there's different topics within the forums. And so within the developer community, there's this Now Experience UI Framework topic. And this is all about Now Experience. It's mostly UI Builder. There's some component questions that come in here. I subscribe to this community forum, so I try to make sure most of the stuff at least gets addressed a little bit. But if you have Now Experience questions, this is a really good place to go and ask. There are a few people that monitor this forum that try to make sure things get answered. But for today, one of the things that I had seen that I wanted to dig into a little bit was, where is it? Oh, it was this one. Making input fields mandatory in UI Builder. So this question is around how do I make a field mandatory so that, when I try to save the value or submit it, it can't be submitted unless somebody fills it in. So this is, if you're using one of the form component, this is all built in, just like if you were, on the platform side of things and made a field mandatory, that's all built in. But in UI Builder, if you have kind of built out the form yourself using components, you have to wire up making things mandatory. So there's a couple of ways that we can do that. We're going to try both of them. We're going to kind of walk through it a little bit. This isn't something I've really practiced beforehand, so we'll hope that it works. But let's go look at what I have mocked up so far in UI Builder. All right, so right now we've got, you can see on the left here, hopefully this is big enough. Let me know if I need to zoom in. One more zoom kind of makes the page weird, but if we need to do it, we can.
It looks fine to me. I'll let you know if the chat says it needs some zoom.
All right. So we've got on this page, I've got this thing that says new note. We've got an input component that has, it's a title, and then my note has a body field as well. And then we've got a submit button. So right now I've got this, this title input. It's got a label and an identifier. We'll kind of take a look at what the identifier does. And then it has an event where when the value is set, it updates a client state parameter. So I have client state parameters for both of these. So if we want to see this in action, let's go, this is what I want. All right, so we have this new node. I'm going to open up the console because we're logging to the console. So I can say, here's the title and here's body. And then when I hit, so once I think on Blur, the title gets set to that client state parameter, same thing with the body. And so when I hit submit, we're going to log both of those values to the console. So we are getting those values, and I'll show you what that client script looks like. It's pretty simple. We are just setting a title and body constant from the state, and then we're logging that. And this is all BS6 if it looks unfamiliar. So that's what we're doing so far. So what we want to do is we want to say, hey, if these are blank, then don't submit, right? So I have made these mandatory, these components. Let's get rid of this, right? So I've used the required slider, and so that gives this asterisk here, which is, in ServiceNow means something's mandatory. So if I do that, it does, turn red and give me a visual indicator like, hey, you have to fill this out. However, there's no, I can still submit that. Oh, you know what? The other thing we need to do. Let's worry about that now. So one of the things that I found was this value set only fires if there is a value in here. So if you clear the value out and set it, it doesn't fire, but the invalid value set fires every time. So let's do that instead.
And Brad, you said the submit button still goes through. Is that just because those components aren't made to talk to each other or know to check for each other?
Yeah, so right now, all the submit button does is it fires a client script.
Okay, so it's not checking if other inputs are the required.
It's not yet. So what we want to do is we want to make it check, or we want to disable it. So I think disabling it is optimum, but that's where I ran into some race conditions when I was kind of playing around with this. So let's do, the first thing is the easy one. So hold on, let's fix this one too. Value set. So I want to get rid of value set and go invalid value set. That's the body. And we want the payload value. So let's go ahead and refresh here. I did save. And so here is a title. Here is a body. And then if I hit submit, it goes false, false, because I have no idea. I just broke it. So maybe I do need to do both of them. So if I do that, true, false. Ooh, I bet the payload's different on this invalid value set. That's fun. All right, well, let's get into why that is the case. So one of the things that I guess before we get there, so I changed from value set. I changed our client state parameter update to invalid input set. And so I think what's happening is our payload is different for these two events. So what I want to do is I want to see what the payload is. And so the easiest way for me to do that is to say test payload. And then we'll say console.log, JSON stringify, event.payload. All right, so we'll do that. And then that test payload, let's go ahead and fire it on both of these. All right, so now what's going to happen is it's going to fire this client script on both of those events, and it's going to log the payload of the event to the console for me. So this is, if you take nothing away from this, this is a pretty common troubleshooting step for me when I don't see what I think I'm going to see from an event payload. I just log it out to the console. So I can see exactly what is getting returned. Did I save? I did. There's a question in the chat. Can UI Builder create a new UI for Agent Workspace? So the Quebec and newer version of UI Builder can be used against configurable workspaces and now experience portals. So a configurable workspace is a workspace that was created in Quebec or newer. So the old agent workspace would not be compatible with this newer version of UI Builder. All right, so let's go title. And then when I tab out, we're going to get a few things. So we have, actually, let's do this. That wasn't, this is a title. All right, so on the invalid set, we have the name, which is the name of the input field. And then the value is going to be true or false. This is telling us if it's invalid or not. So, and then the field value instead of the event payload value, the field value is actually the contents.
Nice. Okay.
And then for this is the other event, the value set, and in that one we just have title and value. So what if I remove this? So the value is false. No, that was, hold on.
Is it the same payload?
So this is what it's doing. So value, I think, indicates whether the value is invalid. right? Because so it's telling me if I don't have a field value, it is invalid. And in this one, I do have a field value, so it is not invalid. That's fun.
Double negative.
But it works. So this is useful to us. So this is we're going to want to test. We're going to want to test this. All right. So let's go back, and we're only going to use this invalid value set, and we're going to do it all through a client script. I think this is going to work, guys. Or y'all. So Jace asks, can we control the object output? So the object is just the payload of the event. We can't change its output, but we can use the properties. So this is what we're going to do. So this submit button, it has a disabled property on it. So this is what we want to do to control our form. So I'm going to add another client state parameter. We're going to call it button disabled. It's going to be Boolean, and then by default, it's going to be true. Right, so let's, we'll go ahead and save just because saving is good. All right, so I want another client script, and this one is just going to be, let's say it's going to set the parameter, and well, we'll just call it set parameter.
Before we move too far away, Jace is following up his question about invalid state object that was pushed to console. Is there any way to add values to that or add parameters or keys to that before it gets created?
I mean, it's just an out of the box event. So that's the payload of the event. So you can't change it from. I mean, I guess maybe you could if you found where the event was. I don't know, but I would not recommend trying to change it.
Cool.
Okay. All right, so what I want to do is I want to fire this client script on blur of both of these fields, and I want to set the client state parameter from my client script, and then also I want to change the client state parameter to be true, so my button is submittable if both of these have values. I think so. Let's just to go back to Jace's point, let's see if the events of that component are, I don't want to sign in. Let's try again. Well, this is going to give me different results because I am signed in, but let's see. Yeah, so it doesn't exactly tell me what all of the what all of the different pieces in the event are. So the payload, but it does tell me a little bit more about when the event actually gets fired. So invalid set gets dispatched every time the field's blurred. Value set only happens when the input value is valid. So that's sort of helpful, but not helpful in the fact that it tells you what all the parameters do. All right. So what we want to do is we want to take I think we want the name, the value, and the field value from that event. And then we want to say API.setState name. Oh, let me point out why we can do this. So on the title field, I have this identifier, and that's title, and I have matched this identifier to my client state parameter so that I can use it in the client script. Right, so this name from the payload is the identifier, and I did the same thing with body. So I can use name. And then we'll go field value, I think is the actual value. All right, so we're setting that state. And then what we want to do now is we want to test. So if value, then all right, so what we want to do now is we're testing if it's invalid, right? So that it came back, if it's invalid, it's true. So if it's valid, now I'm getting confused. We want to see if other
true is bad.
Yeah, true is bad. So then we want to check and see if the other field has a value in it. So that one we should know. So one of my problems, well, let's go ahead and test this. So let's go console.log. So I just want to show real quick the race conditions issue. So we'll go, let's say field value, and then API.state. API.state that was title. All right, let's see what happens. Actually, did I actually associate that with I did not. So got set parameter. Let's go ahead and add it to both of them. Dead air, that's always good. So we'll go ahead and put let's use the saved value. All right, so it ran twice.
Do they run for both fields?
I don't think so. Maybe the invalid value runs twice for some reason. So, and then we did a test body.
Maybe
Well,
it was cleared. Delete that value.
Well, now it looks like it's just going to work. Well, so that one didn't change. This is fun. Well, let's pretend like all right. Let's pretend like this is going to work. And so we have this client state parameter. Oh, I didn't bind this to the button here. That's why. All right, so now this button is disabled. Yeah, it does run on Blur. All right, let's do something simple here and just see if this works. So API.state title. That was called, was a button disabled? Disable button? Oh, it's right here.
Another backwards state. Button disabled, false. Button enabled, true.
Yeah, well, this one is because the button itself, yeah, the disabled is the name of the property. And so if the property is either true or false. I don't know. Do we think this is going to work?
It's creator toolbox. It's going to work.
All right, so let's refresh. So here is a title. This should not work. Okay, still read only. Here is the body. Still read only. But if I add more to it, there we go. All right. So we do have a bit of a race condition, I think. What if I get rid of that? So our logs look better, but this still doesn't work. All right, so does this make sense? What's happening here?
If it's just sending an event upon that invalid state being pushed, why would it be like a ordering or a race issue?
Yeah, so this event, so what we're doing is we're setting that client state parameter here, and then we're testing the client state parameters. So this runs async. And so I think we're testing the values before this is actually getting set. So when we run this API, the title, it's we're checking that client state parameter, and that client state parameter hasn't been set yet.
Is there like a set state and then function call that you can do?
So there is a here, let's look. Where'd my dev? There is some sort of a synchronous set state, but I have not been able to get it to work very well. So what we could do here is we could make this script a lot longer, and we can check, because we know if the field that is being worked against, we know if that has a valid value or not, because the payload tells us, this value is going to tell us whether it's invalid or not. So we could check this value and then the value of the other client state parameter. It gets kind of janky if we do this, but maybe we can try that and see if it works.
This is asking, could you add a new state parameter to read for the button's availability? If that helps out.
So we do have that. We have this button disabled client state parameter. So this is what we're setting and how we're controlling.
Can you fire the button, the blur based off of when that client state parameter changes?
No, there's no, that I have been able to find, there's not an event that fires when the client state parameter changes. That's what I wanted to do, but I don't believe there's a way to do that. Maybe there is, if we have any ServiceNow now experience experts watching, please educate me if that's the case. So I think what I want to do here is, let's just. So first we want to check if this state is not valid. So if value is true, then we're going to want to set it to disabled. Let's go. Let's just do that by default. Yeah, let's just do this. Uh-oh, my computer is getting upset with me. The fan's running louder and I'm getting a choppy mouse right now. So here I want to know if I guess if the name is title. There's definitely a more elegant way to do this. This is the only thing I can think of live on the air here. So if it's the title, then I want to know if API.state.body. Oh. And then we could do the same thing the other way.
Beautiful.
Obviously, this looks a whole lot worse the more the more fields you add. And this is probably not the right way to do this, but I can't think of anything more elegant. The nice thing is somebody will watch this and then they'll be like, hey, this is how you could do this in 2 lines of code.
I mean, I guess if you're at that point doing the same code over and over again, you would just build an array and then loop the array.
That's true. All right, so here is the body. All right, so that worked in that case. What if we clear the title out? It goes away. So new title, we get it. Body. Oh wait, let's clear that out.
Now, what happens if you type something in, get the submit button back, and then go into the body, clear it out, and then immediately hit the submit button? Nice. Okay, just making sure.
No, that was a good. That's a good point. All right, so this actually worked. That actually wasn't as much code as I thought it would be. Jay says, "Are you familiar with the newish chaining?" I'm gonna say no.
The newish ternary, or what is that? You had a question mark in there.
Oh, question mark.
Like a
I don't.
Ternary operator or something?
Yeah, the ternary operator is not new though.
What happens if you have a placeholder text? Does that still?
So yeah, the placeholder text isn't actually a value. That's a good point though. Let's add some in and make sure it still works. So type in your title here, and then we'll say this is the body of your note. And then we'll save it. I think my favorite UI builder Chrome enhancement has been Command S to save my UI builder. I was missing it from the widget editor in Service Portal. Yeah, so there's our placeholder. Here is a real value.
And just to follow that theme, a default value, would that be considered?
I think a default value counts as a value. So that would be like actual text in there. I think the problem is with the default value, what we would want to do is we would want to set the value in the client state parameter and then bind that client state parameter to the value here. So that, well, let's do it here. So let's say we want in the body, we want default value in body. And then here for value, we would bind this value field to that. Yeah, so that I think would have a, yep. So the default value counts as a value.
Can you refresh the page again? The title isn't red.
It's not red until you type into it, and then which is, I think, generally true, right? When somebody loads the form, you don't want to show them something that's red yet because it makes them think that they've done something wrong, right?
That's true.
Like,
yeah.
You should have an error when the form loads. It's just, once you go through it.
It's a bark afterwards, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we've got. I think that's about all I wanted to accomplish. We did it with fewer lines of code, but if you are someone who who is better at JavaScript or want to try something new with this code, I'm convinced that it can be done in much fewer lines. And so,
If it makes you feel any better, Brad, I'm sure it can be done in more lines too.
that's probably true. I think it can always be done in more lines, right?
Well, that'd be a fun way to do it. Is just let's make it as long as possible.
So that'd be a good little creator toolbox competition. Let's see the fewest number of lines someone can do this in, and either post it in the YouTube comments or put it on the community, and we'll see. Yeah, challenge from Brad. Do it in less lines than Brad. It should not be too difficult.
And then do it, and then Earl's challenge, do it in as many lines as possible.
Earl's challenge is how many lines can you do it in? All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share here. All right. So thanks everybody for joining. Thanks Jace for being so active in the chat and helping us figure out some stuff. We are going to be doing more creator toolboxes in the next few weeks. Same with Live Code Happy Hour. Again, next week we're going to do some mobile, and then the next week we're going to look at some of the new App Engine Studio features. So stay on the lookout for that. I'm sure we are going to have another breakpoint sometime soon, but Chuck's not here, and he's the one that knows when breakpoints are coming out just off the top of his head.
Make sure to watch the last one. Make sure to check out the last breakpoint. Yeah, it's a great
one. Last one. It's a good one. I listened to it over the weekend. So yeah, with Earl, learning all about his background, which was a lot of fun. Earl, anything announcements before we go?
Do we know what Thursday's topic is?
I know what we have in the schedule for Thursday's topic, okay. But I am not convinced that that's the one we're going to do. So to pull back the curtain a little bit, we're super planned out in Live Code and Creator Toolbox. So we have a topic, but somebody has to learn about it before we actually do it. So we'll see where we go. All right, thanks everybody for joining, and we will see you on Thursday on Live Coding Happy Hour. Bye, everybody.